All right, let's continue with our trigonometric ratios. So this middle piece right here is just a kind of an overview, and maybe it's an easier way to kind of see what it is. So sine of an angle is going to equal the opposite leg over the hypotenuse. Okay, the opposite leg over the hypotenuse. We could abbreviate that by using just a kind of a mnemonic to help us remember. S is for sine, O is for opposite, H is for hypotenuse. So we can use S, O, H. The sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. The cosine ratio is the adjacent leg over the hypotenuse. Okay, so the cosine, C, is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So we can abbreviate that by CAH. And the tan is the opposite leg over the adjacent leg. So TOA would be how I could rewrite that. So sometimes you'll hear people say, dealing with these three ratios, so, ka, toa. It's just, again, a mnemonic that helps you kind of remember which one is which. If you can just remember SOHCAHTOA, then you will know which ratio goes with which word, and you'll be good to go. So in our examples down here, we're just going to go through each angle, the acute angles. You'll never have any of this trig with the right angle. We're going to go through the acute angles and write the ratios that go with them. So because each one is a little bit different, dealing with angle A and angle C, we're going to do all of angle A first. So here's my angle. I'm just going to kind of mark it. And I'm going to mark the hypotenuse with an H, the opposite leg with an O, and the adjacent leg with an A. Okay, we just call that HOA. Because when I do that, then I'll know exactly what numbers I need to choose for this ratio. Okay, so sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So when I look here at angle A, opposite is 5, hypotenuse is 13. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the A is the adjacent. That's going to be 12 then over hypotenuse of 13. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So the tan is going to be the opposite, the O, which is 5, over the adjacent, which is 12. Okay? Now, if I'm going to go over here and find the ratios for angle C, I'm going to change some things. The hypotenuse is obviously going to remain the same, but your opposite and your adjacent are going to have to be switched around. Because here's angle C, hypotenuse, opposite, and the adjacent is right next to it. Okay, so when I go to write the ratios, now I've got my letters in the right spot. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so that'd be 12 over 13. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that's going to be 5 over 13. And the tangent is opposite over adjacent, so opposite is 12 over the adjacent, which is 5. Okay, why don't you stop the video and see if you can write these fractions, these ratios for each of these acute angles in the triangle. All right, so welcome back. We're going to show you the answers for each of those triangles. So let's just take a look at what we have here. So when I'm looking at this picture and I'm trying to find the ratios, I had a 9 and a 12. Well, I need to know this side in order to write the ratios. So if I know two sides of a triangle, I can find the third by Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so I know this side, the hypotenuse is 15. So when you go over here to each one of these, then you're looking at each acute angle differently, because on this angle, this is my opposite side. For angle X, this is my adjacent side. Okay, and I think you can see there's a few patterns in here too that might help you remember what's what. They did say up here in the directions, write them as the simplest form, okay, which is just basically reducing the fraction. Same thing happens on number 3 here. We knew 2 sides. We had to find the third one, which happens to be a leg. So they filled that in with B, so that side is 30. So when I come over here and write my ratios, again, thinking SOHCAHTOA, when I write my ratios, then I'm going to use that 30 to help me finish those out and then reduce them. Okay, so biggest thing to remember is this right here in the middle, SOHCAHTOA, because that will help you easily remember what those ratios are. All right, now here's what you've been waiting for. I've got a couple of questions here for you. See if you can get these answered. First one, why couldn't the angle get a loan? Because his parents wouldn't cosine. What do you call a man who spent all summer at the beach? A tangent. Now, here's a little word of advice. Math jokes are the first sign of crazy. So, we have tangent, we have sine, we have cosine. Good luck.